Drew Peacock is my alias, by the way, my new alias. All right, maggots. Today we're discussing the American Army fitness test. You think you can do it? You think you got what it takes?
So they just changed their test,
Okay,
the
never
U.S.
mind.
Army, literally like this month. So I think it'd be interesting to break down what the new test is as coaches from our point of view compared to the old test, why they changed it, and why I think it's relevant even if you're not going to war anytime soon,
Yeah,
but other people are.
It's honestly, it's been a long time coming, so I'm glad they changed it.
War or the...
No, war never changes. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the BFit Brothers podcast. As usual, I'm Victor, and that's Julian. And today we're here talking about the Army fitness test and why it's relevant, even if you're not joining any sort of the armed forces anytime soon.
Subscribe.
Right? Subscribe.
That's it, just a quick one.
Just subscribe.
And share.
And Cher is my favorite singer. You know Cher's dating a guy 40 years younger than her?
That's dumb of him. Or smart.
Genius of him. Are you kidding me? It's genius of him.
How old is she? Because
She's 80?
okay, he's waiting it out.
Yeah.
I think he's in the estate, in the trust.
He's definitely in the estate. He's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I trust that he's in the trust.
Do you believe he's in the trust?
I actually do believe. Shout out to Kelly.
Wow. She's not going to listen.
Okay, what was the old test? Army Physical Fitness Test, APFT.
It was 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups,
Wow,
and a
he
2-mile
knows
run.
it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, guys. I know.
Okay. So, man, I feel like that was the test for a long time.
Forever, it seems.
Yeah. What's your take on it? Just first impressions on it, if you had to just give your critique.
Terrible. Terrible. No real judgment of anything, of strength, of grit that we know the Army takes. The run is laughable for something so serious.
Oh, you think the run? I think the run's
No,
the only good thing about it.
And the run is, that's what I was going, and the run is the best part of it all.
Okay.
And it's still laughable to think a 2-mile run with no sort of change of direction, a straight 2-mile run.
It's an aerobic test, yeah.
Yeah, like that's going to really determine that you're fit for war.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
So it's push-ups, it's 2 minutes. So basically they're trying to see, so from a coach's standpoint, what you're really doing here, this is all endurance testing.
Yeah.
Like this is, you might think that push-up, that's strength. Sit-ups, yeah, that's core strength. Yes, there's a little bit of strength involved, but when you do something for 2 minutes, when you do like a strength exercise for 2 minutes, you are no longer working on strength or trying to determine your strength. You're moving on to what we call muscle endurance, which is more, you're past those 12, 15 reps that we typically would do. And now you're in the, hopefully if you're doing for 2 minutes, you're doing 30, 40, 50 push-ups. A strong male, I think, could get to that point.
Now, is this 2 minutes of non-stop push-ups? Can I use my own tempo? Like,
you can use your own tempo, but I'm sure you can put your knees down, take a complete break.
No, but I'm saying there's such a difference between 2 minutes of push-ups
repping
like
it
this
out.
and 2 minutes of this.
But it doesn't matter.
For the listeners at home, I did them very fast and then I did them very slowly.
As long as you get them done.
Okay. I just think it's a poor way to do it because there's such room for you know what I mean, for parity. There's so much room for, you could have done 50 in the 2 minutes and I could have done 30, let's say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but why wouldn't you want to do as many as you possibly can? Like, just knock them out.
Because either way, I'm getting in. Right?
No, there's a standard. Like, you got to impress people with this. Like, hey, how many push-ups did you do? I did this and that.
Well,
Which, by the way, I did a lot. I did a 1 minute push-up test back in my heyday when we used to do martial arts, and I did a lot.
How many?
It was more than a push-up per second. I don't remember how many exactly, but it was a lot.
Oh, let's see it.
Let's go.
Guys,
shit,
if
it's
you're
a video podcast.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
going to say, if
damn.
you're only listening, he's doing them. He's doing a lot. Wow. Okay, that was impressive. Good job.
Okay, so let me tell you what I think, because this doesn't sound like, first of all, there was no thought put into it. It's like, oh, push-ups, sit-ups.
Yeah, before we do anything, let's say that the sit-ups are the biggest joke on there.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Sit-ups are, okay, here's the thing though. The average American teenager that signs up to the Army is probably very out of shape. This would be a very hard test for them.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. I know that the Army was having trouble, the military was having trouble recruiting people because they were so out of shape.
Wow. I'm thinking about it more from an ROTC point of view, that these kids are already so interested in going to the Army that they've dove into a little bit, you know what I mean? So they joined some sort of Army program, sort of ROTC, and that they're already being tested. They're running, they're doing their rucking, all this stuff.
Yep.
So I would think if you're going, I'm guessing those guys have no issue with it. If you're general pop, just a regular
You'd be
lazy
surprised.
teenager.
Some people still have issues. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I haven't
Yeah.
even thought about the ROTC thing.
I
Yeah,
know
they're
because
prepping for this.
that's the only experience I have with it is seeing the parents of those kids posting, "Oh, my son is in ROTC. My son is doing this," and then now he did really well in the Army fitness test.
Which is interesting because they used to be preparing for specifically this. So they were doing a whole lot of push-ups, sit-ups, and running.
Yeah.
Whereas now, as you guys are going to see, it's a complete different, more well-rounded test. So now their training has to evolve, which in my opinion is a great thing.
It's fantastic.
New one, the new test, which by the way, crazy timing. It's being implemented now, June 2025 is when it starts.
Oh, wow.
And I believe everyone, even if you're already in the Army, if you've already gone through boot camp and done the old test, you still have to pass this one. I'm pretty sure.
I like that.
Fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure I read that.
I like that.
So this has 5 components. I want to go over it one by one, and then our professional take on that component itself.
I love it. Let's get into it. Number 1, deadlifts.
Deadlifts, let's go.
How much weight are they deadlifting?
That's what's interesting about it. It's a 3-rep max test.
Okay.
So you're basically, you keep putting weight on there. I'm assuming you put a weight that you think is going to be about your 3-rep max, and then you can add a little bit more just to really determine what the 3.
Or remove it. Si te sientes bárbaro.
Yeah, of course, I can see people doing that. Yeah.
I think that would be
500
me.
on there.
I think that would be me. Like, never mind. Let's take some off.
The adrenaline.
Yeah, let's take some off.
One thing that I didn't see, whether it was a conventional or a trap bar.
I would bet.
I want to say it's trap. No,
yeah?
I want to say it's trap.
That would be great.
Let's look it up.
Please hold.
What? Army, what type deadlift?
Are we gonna get sued for that? Can I use that song?
Trap bar.
Trap bar.
Your
That's
boy's
amazing.
right.
That's amazing.
By the way, what's wrong with this person? Not a normal person. That's a great choice.
That's a fantastic
great choice by the Army.
Especially for the form aspect. It's fantastic. I actually haven't been seeing a lot of straight bar deadlifts lately.
We're also not in that
powerlifting CrossFit
community.
No, I'm saying powerlifting is CrossFit. Don't beat me up.
Slash. There was a slash there.
It was a slash. Thank you for understanding.
Okay.
I am glad they're doing hex bar though. It's so much more accessible and functional for what they're trying to do there.
For sure. And now let's keep it. Let's try to explain their thought process here. It's not, let's see how strong these people can be at deadlifting because of like why a power lifter would be interested, which is I'm trying to compete in the deadlift.
As heavy as I
can. It has nothing to do with that. It is a test of raw strength though. So that was something that was missing from the old test
100%.
where, like we said, it was an endurance thing. Now you're actually testing strength. Why? Because the magic number there is 3. They're doing 3 heavy reps of something, which tells you, okay, this person can lift 250 definitively. This person can lift 350, whatever that might be. So they're actually testing strength.
Yeah, and I think that tells you this is a trained individual. You're not going to have somebody, come in brand new and lift an impressive number with proper form, unless you're a farmer. FarmersOnly.com.
Which they train.
/ BFitBrothers. You guys can get our promo code. Go to FarmersOnly.com. Use promo code BFitBrothers. But yeah, now that's definitely a good determiner of raw strength. It's finally a determiner of leg strength, which there was none if you look at the old Army test. Not
0.
a single. So this is a good posterior test.
Running, legs?
Sure. It's a good test of your posterior strength, your lower back, your grip, your core. There's so many elements going on there.
Yeah, I agree.
This guy's a terrible listener. Now, should we go into the cons of the deadlift?
I don't see any besides
the only one I would
risk.
see is the risk of injury and your form. Like, how are they determining? Do you have to do a proper form? Can you round your back? Is there any sort of like place that they'll tell you to stop, or are you just trying to get the bar up?
That's a really good question that we should have probably looked up before this podcast. Does anybody know? Comment below.
Comment below, guys. We'll find out.
I saw a try hard high rocks. You know how like at high rocks and CrossFit competitions they have like some person literally there counting your reps, make sure they're good reps.
Said no
to every single
wall ball thing.
Qué pesado el tipo ese. And the guy was like doing the wall ball and he'd be like, bro, what the hell, man? Count them. And you'd be like, no, 0.
So,
no rep, no rep.
At first, I saw that guy getting criticized, the referee, like, bro, why are you taking this so seriously? Then I saw people defending him, like, I saw the reps and he was right. The guy was bullshit. Like, People were like, oh.
If that guy's squat wasn't going all the way down, I don't know. I don't see a lot of other people there.
Supposedly wasn't going high enough. No, but what people are saying is all the referees need to be like that. Like having one like that is not fair.
At all.
But if they're all that strict, the competition improves.
Yeah, there's human error there.
Yeah.
There's no way to standardize that. But to reel it back, I completely agree. Like, are you going to just let people lift? And hey, a lift is when you get it off the ground. And it's kind of like powerlifting rules because, by the way, in powerlifting, that's how it is. Like that's why you see people bench pressing like super hard, and sometimes it looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's like as long as you get that to touch your chest and then lock out, it doesn't matter how you did it. That's a good question that I'd be curious about. But I would assume that these people are getting coached and they're training for the deadlift and they're somewhat using good techniques. So by the time they get there, they know how to deadlift. And it's not their first time deadlifting, or
You're a maniac if you show up with no training. You're a maniac. I mean, I'm sure people are doing it, but...
And I do want to talk, when we disclose all 5, I want to talk about like what a good training program should look like if you are wanting to join the Army. You have like, let's say, a few weeks or a few months to train for it.
For sure.
Who wears short shorts?
Oh, me too.
Comment below, what is the ideal
short length
seam? Inseam?
For me, it's
inseam for shorts, for male
7.
shorts.
6 to 7 for me.
Yeah, to me, honestly, lately, I've gotten more and more picky as to what it is, and it's only 6.
6 is good.
Which is the hardest to find.
5 is so
5
short.
is short.
5
and
is so
7,
short.
It's been a little bit long for my liking.
Yeah,
but
kind of a short fellow deeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 2, hand release push-ups. What is a hand release push-up?
That is a push-up that when you get to the bottom, you have to get your hands completely off the ground and then put them back on the ground and get yourself right back up to lockout.
Interesting. And why is that better than a regular push-up, would you say?
So number 1, it completely eliminates the momentum that's happening at the bottom of the push-up, where you can if you go fast enough, you can use that momentum to help you. And number 2, you have to do full range of motion.
That's
one of the problems with push-ups is that people half rep or they'll go like 3/4 of the way down. And again, unless you have that person there telling you, nope, you got to go 90 degrees at the elbows or whatever, there's no other way to standardize that except to do hand release. By the way, they're way harder than regular push-ups. So that is like a tough thing to implement in a test.
You could see a lot of people doing what they might see as a perfect push-up. Then you tell them to do hand release, and as soon as they get to the bottom, their hips come up first, or their chest comes up, and then their lower back. So it becomes like a whole cacophony of errors that could happen there. So if you're not like perfectly braced, if you're not ready to go, what they say, like your whole torso and lower body as one unit, your hand release push-up is going to look like dog shit.
Yeah, cacophony.
Is that a bad word? Did I say that wrong?
I don't know, but I like it. Oh. Now that I think about it, these are very hard because a push-up is already tough on the core. A hand release push-up is really hard on the core. You have to have enough body awareness and control to be able to keep everything together once those hands get back on the floor. So I can see people really struggling with this one.
Definitely.
What's the deal with a male, female here? Are there different standards?
What's the deal with airline food?
For soldiers in 21 designated combat specialties, it enforces sex-neutral standards. All soldiers, regardless of gender, must meet the same performance criteria. Woo, baby.
Wow.
You happy now, feminists? Look what you did.
Am I leaving all this?
Just leave that.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
And I mean, it makes sense. It says the shift aims to ensure that all combat soldiers possess the necessary physical capabilities for their roles.
100%.
Why would you bring it down to, well, no, if you can't carry all the luggage, it's okay because you're a smaller female.
And I'm not going to say I think you're lesser, but why would you get the weaker soldier? If you're telling me, okay, you can pick from a neutral party, you're blindfolded. This person did 50 push-ups, this person did 45, this person did 20. Why would I take the 20? Even if and then they're gonna tell you, this person did 20, but they're a girl, they're a female. Like, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? I just want the best soldiers.
You're going to war.
You're going to war.
You're doing something
I don't
that's
care
like,
about.
Yeah, this should be the most like uncontroversial thing, but of course it isn't.
Everything's gonna be controversial.
But I will say, if we're getting into controversy, I might as well talk about it. This does break like certain like feminist brain because on the one hand they think, I saw a panel the other day they were discussing this. We're like, should we save the baddest, strongest people for combat roles, or should we just let it be like anyone who wants to do it? And like you can tell the girls were like, well, because they want to say, if a woman wants to do it, let her do it, which I agree with. But can you can you have the standards? Can you carry the guns? Can you carry all the stuff? Have you like proven that you can handle the situation?
So, knock yourself
if
out.
so, I have no problem with it. But I don't believe in, women want to do it. So let's like, your standards to get in are going to be a little bit less.
You'll carry the lighter guns and the lighter ammunition stuff because, you're the girl that wanted to do it. No.
Yeah, to me, that's like everybody not controversial.
Everybody's got to be.
Yeah, we're talking about combat here. Okay, so are we done with push-ups?
Yeah.
By the way, again, I know some women are going to be upset by the things we say, but I'm just trying to be as objective as possible. From a trainer standpoint, yes or no, is it harder for women to do push-ups?
100%.
Way harder. Like,
for some reason, they like to do it with their hands up here for some reason. I don't know what that's about. Girls, comment below while you do this. If you're listening, I have my hands by my ears as I do push-ups.
So I'd be willing to bet, I've been doing this for a long time, if you're a girl that could do 10 push-ups, 10 solid push-ups, if you try to do hand release push-ups, you'll be dropping down to like 5.
Yeah, and
they're
might
very
not
hard.
Look that good.
They're very hard.
I see it happen all the time here. You do a pretty good push-up, then I go into hand release, and
it's tough. It's tough. So anyway, I think that's good with the push-ups, and obviously you can't do it on your knees or anything like that. Again, hard. It's gonna be tough. You got to train for this if you're trying to go in the Army. All right, my personal favorite: sprint, drag, carry.
Amazing.
I love that they're doing this.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. That's so functional for what they're actually doing.
So I'm sure that they sat down, whoever the powers that be that determined this, and they sat down and said, what are we preparing these people for? Well, they got to do all these things out there in the battlefield or wherever, and this is a perfect example of that. Sprint, of course, yes, and that doesn't mean run. That's a different thing. Sprint. Go as fast as you can.
In a short
drag, you're usually dragging something that's weighted, and then carry. You're 100% going to have to carry bags, carry equipment, carry potentially a soldier that's wounded.
Definitely.
So this is the event that measures all that. It's literally like you're sprinting one way, you're grabbing and dragging something the other way, and then you're carrying on the way back. So it's a 3 exercise event.
It tests, like you said, it's functional because you're doing all these things, and then it tests your grit, how far you're willing to push yourself, and it tests your aerobic and anaerobic systems.
I also think it's like, to use a word that we don't like, but it's very functional in the sense that, you're not but I mean, like, you're not, all other exercises, like, you can argue that you're getting
in the trenches.
Yeah, you're getting better at the exercise, right? But this is like, you're using so many other muscle groups, you're using your body in a way that this is very primal. This is what humans were meant to do, right? You can argue whether we were meant to do push-ups, or we were meant to deadlift, or we were sure as hell meant to run fast, to drag shit, to put things over like our shoulders and carry them. So again, it's just, I just love everything about this.
The definition of functional. It's things that you're actually going to do in this scenario. Like I was saying, you're not going to be deadlifting, all my guns, deadlifting them, or doing push-ups while the freaking enemy's coming. So these are actual things that you're going to be doing. So for me, that's a perfect.
And I love seeing some agility, for God's sake. Like mostly when you see fitness tests, unless it's like football combine or something like that, you're seeing like raw strength or endurance.
And it's very rigid.
And the non-athletic people love that because like, I can train really hard for this. I know I could do it. But then once you have to like switch directions, sprint, things like that, now you're talking about like another component of fitness.
A component that, let's be honest, you can improve at, but a lot of people are just blessed with raw athleticism.
Yeah, if you're like the athletic type, you're going to crush.
Yep, just like in an obstacle course.
Yep, exactly.
The plank hold, number 4. How do you feel about this one?
Stupid.
How far to the future do we have to go before we realize that plank hold is obsolete?
Almost useless.
Come on, like, what are we getting at? There's so much better things that you could be doing for your, like, what are you trying to test here?
What are you testing here? It's not even strength, it's endurance.
If you're gonna do core endurance, do a farmer's carry. Do some sort of loaded 100%. Carry. I don't understand what we're doing here.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things where it's been considered like a solid thing for so long that we fail to sit back unless you're in the fitness industry, like a fitness expert, and really think about it. Because I know a lot of coaches that have written extensively about how the plank is like not an ideal way and there's so many more dynamic things you could do. But the average person, I'm sure most people listening are like, wait, I thought planks were good. I thought planks were like, plank hold is like
hold for a minute.
Yeah, it's like a good thing to practice and to do. I think it's just outdated, and unfortunately, it's not great.
I'm going to say one positive thing that I could say about the plank hold, and that determines, like I said earlier, grit. Because let's be honest.
Yeah, mental toughness.
We've seen somebody here once, David, I'll give him a shout out, even though he'll never listen to this.
David.
He held the plank for like 11 minutes or something like that. And that was sheer determination and grit. It wasn't that he was stronger than the other people. It wasn't any of that. It was all up here. And that's a good measure of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that's like you're holding an uncomfortable position, once you get people that are relatively like similar strength, then it's all about, the winner is going to be all about mental resilience, how much pain can you tolerate. So, okay, now
competitiveness.
That gives me a little bit more of like, okay, I can see how that.
That's the only pro I can see of it.
Yeah, bragging rights too. You're gonna be the one that like, oh, I held the longest plank.
And again, how's the form on there? Like, are you letting the hips sag? Are the hips gonna be a little higher? Like,
I'm sure they would be strict. I'm sure that like there's a group of people watching you, and they'll be like, all right, you're eliminated. I don't know what the standards are, but okay. I was looking at it strictly as a physical thing, but as a mental thing, I can see that wall sit. Plank hold. That's basically the only use for those things.
I'd rather even see you hanging. I'd rather have you hanging on there. At least it shows me grip strength.
I would do hanging with the knees up to your hip height. That's what I would do.
I think they used to do that, but they took it off because of poor form or like mobility restrictions.
But they used to do it when? Because it's not in the old test.
They used to do something. They removed the leg tuck or something is what I was reading. From what? I don't know.
Well, anyway, I think we said enough about that. So the last one, number 5. 2-mile run. We kept it. We're leaving it. We're leaving it. I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, what don't you like about it?
I think they should have done a 2-mile obstacle course, personally, because it combines running with more dynamic movements. Rarely in a real combat scenario are you going to find yourself running for 2 miles uninterrupted. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not ever, but my pushback is that that's not the point.
It's endurance and
it's aerobic capacity. Okay. Like, in order to run 2 miles solid, you need to do cardio often, which means you're aerobically fit. Like, you can't bullshit your way out of a 2-mile run. So they're not. This is not a functional test. This is hey, have you been training your aerobic system? Because you're not going to be doing that, but maybe you're going to be like walking with 70 pounds of gear for a very long time. And guess what? If you don't have an aerobic base, you're going to be gassed. You're going to be the one that's like leading, they're going to leave you behind. So I think this is just the best test that they can do for lack of like having bikes and having ski ergs and having other things that everybody can go train a run. Everybody can we can test you on a run easily.
And is a 2-mile run enough in your opinion?
I think it is, because it's the perfect sweet spot of, I think you could BS your way into 1 mile. It's not long enough.
Guilty.
But then by that second mile, to be able to complete 2 miles, that's when you're really seeing the separation of like, is this person aerobically fit or not?
Yep.
And then anything more than that, I think it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. Like if you can do a solid 2 miles with a really good time, odds are like you're fit enough. Like, all right, we got it. We get the point. You know. So any more than that, now you're just wasting valuable time of testing.
Okay. Agreed.
I actually think it's perfect.
Good job, Army. So now we're moving on to why we think this is better.
Yeah. Why even do a test like this? And what's the difference between being like combat ready or ready for the military versus just like general physical preparation?
So then let's say what's good about the new one is it's that it tests it's functional.
It's way more well-rounded.
It's functional. It tests your durability more. All these things, like I think the key word here is, and we know we hate it, is that it's much more functional as opposed to the first one. You're not going to be doing push-ups. You're not going to be doing sit-ups. Like these are things that you're just not going to be doing in these combat scenarios.
Yeah, it's more well-rounded. It's evolved. It's a
change in
version.
mindset, I think. It's a good change in mindset.
Yep.
From this archaic way of thinking to a now, hey, we are improving the way we think about things. We're looking at the science and we're making it more combat ready, as you said. That's a good phrase to put it.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to emphasize is that like the difference between this and you just getting fit is that usually when you're getting fit or you're working out like for whatever your own personal reasons are, there's gonna be like a big aesthetic component to that. Like I'm gonna work certain muscles because I want them to look good. Simple as that. I want to be a certain level of leanness. Whereas here, you don't have to worry about that at all, even though it's gonna be a byproduct, but you're not worried about how your biceps look. This is strictly to do well on this test so that I'm prepared for combat. I'm prepared for the demands that are going to be placed upon me. Like there's a very specific reason you're doing this training. So the training itself changes based on what the goal is. So even though we can both agree that this test is way more improved, what do you think is lacking? Is there anything that you would add to it?
My biggest gripe with it is that there's no demonstration of your pulling muscles. There's no pull-up. There's no sort of row. There's no sort of hang. And I think these are all invaluable assets to complete functional assessment of someone.
Yeah, I think that they exclude pull-ups for 2 reasons. One, because they're even harder than push-ups. So you want to talk about letting women have their fair shot into the Army? Do a pull-up test and let's see how many women you get. How many women do you know that can do pull-ups?
A handful.
A handful. And we're in the fitness world.
Yeah.
So I think that would be very tough to implement. I think they literally just picked push-ups because of it's like easy to test and a little bit more accessible. But I completely agree with you. If you want to look at it in terms of what's more, God, I don't want to use the word functional again.
I know.
But what's healthier, what's better for like a well-built physique that can also perform, pulling is more important than pushing. So
what's the ratio supposed to pull twice to push once? Is that archaic?
No, that's what like physical therapists say.
Yeah, so if they're saying that and then you're having people practice for a push-up test only, you're going to start causing some imbalances in the body. You're going to have that upper cross syndrome from working only your chest and neglecting your back. So you're kind of training people to have imbalances. The regular lay person that's going out for the Army is not going to be like, I'm doing a lot of push-ups. Let me do some pulling and face pulls and things to kind of counterbalance that. They're not thinking like that. They're thinking run, deadlift.
What's in the test?
Yeah, what's in the test? That's it. And I think that's a recipe for failure.
Yeah. On that same note, do you think, how many power lifters do you think do pulling motions?
I hope a lot, at least for their shoulder health.
Yeah. I actually don't know the answer to that, but that would be interesting because it got me thinking like, yeah, when people train for something specifically, they're only worried about the thing.
Yeah.
But you also have to be thinking like, take a step back and be like, okay, well, I also want to train in a way that's smart, in a way that I'm not going to get injured, that I don't build imbalances. So I agree with you. My fear with this is that people are going to be like, well, the only thing they're testing for this test is push-ups and whatever I have to carry. That's the only upper body involved. So I'm only going to do push-ups. Why would I waste my time doing anything else?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, because you should be pulling. It's good for posture. It's good for balance between the front and the back of the body. And, you know, you want to be a little bit well-rounded.
There's one test that the police academy does down here. I know for a fact they do it because we've trained plenty of cops that have done it. And I think it should be implemented here is a simple wall climb. Because that's such a function. That's something that...
Is it a wall or rope?
No, it's a wall.
Okay.
Like you have to get over a wall.
Okay.
Because that involves some pulling muscles. You have to have the strength to pull yourself up. Then you have to have the athleticism to get your legs over, get whatever you're going over. I feel like that's such a good test to have out in the field that they're neglecting.
Yeah, it's also I think they're looking at it as a risk too, right? Like what's a
bigger risk than being in the Army?
Well, no, what I mean is like they don't want to have a bunch of injuries happen during the testing of the actual Army thing.
I mean, if you get getting hurt in the test, maybe you're not fit enough to be in the Army.
I get it, but I'm telling you that's how they think. It's like, what can we do that tests them, but it also isn't putting them in like, you know, much more danger.
Wow.
So that's what I think, you know.
We don't want them in too much danger. Here's a gun. Go fight those people. Okay. Like, that's so nonsensical.
Well, you don't want them hurt before they sign up to get them in the...
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the whole idea.
True.
If I had to guess, that's why. The other thing that I would say is like, you're going to do a lot of like what we call rucking in the Army.
Shut the ruck up. What's rucking for the layperson?
It's walking or hiking with weight. It's as simple as that.
Very popular nowadays.
It's become very popular because of what a good exercise it is. But I feel like if you want to talk about something that you're going to actually be doing, it's hiking or walking with weight on you, with your equipment, with guns, with bags. So I feel like maybe either extending that, because they're doing a carry, but maybe either extending that, or I think their thought process was like, well, we have the aerobic with the run. Let's just make them carry something for like a short distance.
Yeah.
But some sort of rucking, I think, would be interesting. Like, hey, can you walk 2 miles or 1 mile with 50 pounds for men or 70 pounds for men, 50 pounds for women, whatever that might be. That's just if I want to be like extra
you want to do like
picky.
the perfect test.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. You know, rucking is actually one of Scooby-Doo's favorite pastimes. Anyway, go on. Rucking? Raggy, right? Rough to ruck.
That could be misconstrued.
How?
What if people want to try this? Would you recommend like the average person just like, yeah, give it a shot. I want to see how it would do in this.
Like somebody that's untrained?
No, anyone, let's say our listener.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Why not?
I kind of want to try it.
Try it.
I haven't done heavy deadlifts in a long time, but I'll try it.
Yeah, don't destroy your back.
We
need you for war.
I know my limits.
We need you for the war on drugs.
If they weren't trained, would you recommend that they just go and try it?
No. Definitely not.
Train for it.
I would say train for the deadlift. Practice some push-ups. Go for a run. If you're not a runner, if you haven't ran in a while, a 2-mile run is gonna kick your ass. It's gonna be pretty rough.
Also, go listen to our podcast 2 podcasts ago if you want to know anything about running.
If you're trying to get into running, it's
everything.
a perfect place to start.
I would love to write a program for somebody who's getting ready for the Army. Like it'd be super fun to sit there and write like a 12-week
12 weeks is exactly what I had.
All right, here's where you're at. Of course, first step is to assess you. Like, where are you at? Maybe like you can't run at all, or maybe you can't run more than 30 seconds. So it depends. And maybe you're already a kind of fit person that just wants to get better at this. You're going to be lacking somewhere. You're either going to be lacking in strength or lacking in aerobic capacity. Or maybe when's the last time you sprinted? People don't sprint.
No, for sure not.
So maybe that sprint drag carry is going to be the toughest event for you. It doesn't matter, but how I would write it as a coach is identify your weaknesses, see where you're lacking, and then write a program that's according. What I mean by that is you're not going to train everything evenly. Yeah. You're going to work on your weaknesses a little bit more than your strength. So maybe if I already have a strong deadlift, I was still going to be deadlift at least once a week, maybe twice.
More pushing,
more of the other stuff. Yeah. Exactly. So, but I would definitely be training. If you're serious about this, give yourself a few months. Especially the run. It's not something that, in 2 weeks you're gonna get your run time better. You're not. You need a lot more time.
4 months is a good
again, depending on where you're at.
Of course.
But give yourself a good amount of time.
Really quick aside, you said about people don't sprint. There's this really viral trend going on. I'm not sure if it's already at this point gone, but maybe we could do a whole video on it. I don't see how we could, but it's nice to bring it up in here. Significant others that have never seen their partner sprint full speed.
That's an ick.
No. To see your partner run full speed is an ick?
To never have seen him.
Oh, okay. That's a very viral trend. It's like, I realized I've never seen my partner run full speed, so here we both are. And it's the guy usually recording the girl, and then the girl recording the guy.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
It's super funny to see. There was a whole a fast food place that did. I remember, I think it was some sort of Popeyes or something. They were like, all the employees seeing our full burst of sprint. And of course, people were falling.
That's so funny.
Really funny.
I realize you kind of live in a bubble because my wife and I we've been doing fitness stuff since we got together. So I'm sure we saw each other sprinting a few weeks into the relationship, which is not. I can see why this is a trend. Why would you see?
Yeah.
What I think is
first date. You don't go sprint.
We're sprinting. Yeah. Well, we went to a yoga workshop our second date, a handstand workshop. What I think is really interesting statistic is if you see the percentage of people who never sprint again after age, 17.
Wow.
It's insane. The majority of people, the vast majority of people never run as fast as they can after teenage years or something.
That's crazy.
Because if you think about it, unless you're playing sports, that already eliminates a big percentage of the population. As an adult, you have to play sports. And then even if you're playing something like pickleball or something, you're not sprinting as fast as you can.
Oh, shots at pickleballers.
You're not. It's a short little court or whatever you guys call it.
Kitchen.
So people just don't sprint, which I think is super interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, all that to say, I would be training for months, and I would prepare to train, if not every day, 6 days a week, 6 days a week. If you want to excel at this.
If you're serious, yeah.
So it'd be exciting. So if you know anybody that wants to train for the Army, hit us up. I would love to give that a shot. Another thing I'll say about this is that this is a reflection of how fitness or modern fitness thinking is evolving, right? An institution is kind of old school as the Army. Yeah. If they're expanding this way, it just gives you it gives you an insight into how we're thinking as a culture and as a society, in the sense that it was clearly so outdated to think, imagine that's your training. You're not, forget about the Army. You're just training and you're I'm only going to do sit-ups and push-ups and run. It's dude, what is this, 1975? Or what are you, in prison? Come on, we've evolved to expand on what fitness means. What about joint health? What about mobility? What about aerobic capacity? What about pulling?
And there's no excuse. Lack of knowledge is not an excuse. You can look up anything. If you're interested in training, you can easily Google training. You can ChatGPT a decent training session.
Yep.
You can, the information's out there. It's not like the 1930s where cigarettes are good for your health. And it's we didn't know any better. No, you know better.
Exactly.
You're just choosing to stay in your unevolved mind. So.
Yep. So I think this is this is a good representation of where we're going, and I obviously somebody in the field likes to see that
Definitely straying from aesthetics and going to more of a, I can't this word.
Functional.
Yeah.
Functioner. Yeah, we should do our listeners should do a thing. Take a shot every time we say functional. So just kind of to close this loop, I think at the end of the day, not only is this a more well-rounded test, but I think it's creating better soldiers, people that are more prepared for the task at hand, which is a very important task that we are very grateful for, by the way.
Definitely. Thank you for your service. I think we should have started with a thank you for your service. Yeah. Because God knows we would not be cut out for that world.
Why not?
You're a wimp.
Oh, I would have excelled.
No,
I would have for sure climbed up the ranks and all that. I love order. I love the fitness aspect of it. I would love to be like on the top of my class at this.
That I love, but I don't like being told what to do.
No, I think after a while, I don't know. I personally think only a lot of people need the military.
100%. I feel like you just at least going through the basic training would be good for most people.
I remember that classic speech by this like I think it was like a sergeant or something. He's giving a speech at what's that really West Point.
Yep.
And he's talking about like the importance of making your bed, right? But he's using it as an analogy for life, like a metaphor, right? And it's very eloquent. I'm gonna butcher it. You guys should look it up. It's a really nice speech. But he talks about like just something as simple as that, the discipline to get up, make your bed, like make it perfect. There's like, you know how they do it, like army style. And they make them do all these things that once you get out of there, those are your habits. Yeah. What happens is the average 18-year-old, they go off to college or they're just like in their parents' basement or whatever, and they're not making their bed. They're not being disciplined. They're letting themselves go. They're gaining weight. It's
inconsequential too. Like, oh, whatever, make my bed. Who cares?
Making my bed. No, it's that rigidity of how they're teaching them. But anyway, I don't want to get into another segue. But what do you think about this episode? What do you think about the new test?
Are you guys gonna try it?
You found it interesting, even if you have no inclinations to join the army. But I thought this was an interesting topic, seeing as how we're in the fitness industry. And
it just changed, too. That's fascinating.
If you want to try it, let's try it. Let's make a BFit event where we all try the army test.
Let's do it.
That'll be fun.
I'm down.
All right.
My 2-mile run is going to be so impressive. You guys are going to be blown out of your combat boots.
I would love to do a 2-mile versus a 3, like your regular 100%. 5K. God, that third one sucks.
Mile sucks. Your two strongest runners, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the BFit Brothers Podcast. Also, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say, wow.